chilly morning October, and I felt like the sun was reluctant to rise, just like my spirit. At 20 years old, I found myself standing in front of a mirror, staring at the reflection of a man I barely recognized. How did it come to this? I whispered to myself. Just 2 years ago, I was full of dreams. I had graduated high school with average grades, but a heart brimming with ambition. Growing up in a modest neighborhood, I'd seen my parents struggle to make ends meet. I promised myself that I'd build a better life, a life where I could provide not only for myself, but also for those I loved. But life had other plans. I had applied for countless jobs I believed were my ticket out of mediocrity. And yet, every time I reached the final stage of an interview, something seemed to go wrong. I was either overqualified, underqualified, or just not the right fit. One fateful day, I received a call from a company I had been dreaming of joining. The interviewer's voice on the other end sounded optimistic. "Congratulations, Ryan! You've been selected for the role." My heart leaped with joy. I ran to my parents, tears streaming down my face, and shared the good news. For the first time in months, I felt like I was finally moving forward. Just days later, an email arrived. The subject line read, "We regret to inform you." The company had retracted their offer, citing unforeseen internal changes. It felt like the ground beneath my feet had disappeared. The next few weeks were a blur. The rejection ate away at my confidence, and the constant failures became unbearable. One evening, as I sat alone in my tiny room, my thoughts took a dark turn. "What's the point of trying if nothing ever works out?" I muttered to myself. That night, I walked to the nearby bridge, the wind cutting through my jacket like shards of glass. I leaned over the railing, staring at the rushing water below. It was as if the river was whispering to me, inviting me to let go of my pain. As I stood there, tears streaming down my face, something caught my attention. A small group of fireflies danced in the darkness, their tiny lights flickering like stars against the night. I couldn't look away. Despite the cold, the darkness, and the harshness of their environment, these fireflies glowed. They don't wait for the perfect conditions to shine, I thought. In that moment, I felt a shift within me, a glimmer of hope, however faint. I stepped back from the railing, my heart pounding. If they can shine in the dark, maybe I can too. I returned home that night with a newfound determination. I realized that my mind had been my greatest enemy. For too long, I had allowed self-doubt and fear to dictate my actions. The first step, I decided, was to create a vision, something tangible that I could work toward. The next morning, I found an old whiteboard tucked away in a corner of my house. I wiped off the dust and placed it on my wall. With a marker in hand, I began to map out my dreams. 6 months, I wrote at the top in bold letters. 6 months to turn my life around. Underneath, I listed my goals. Find a stable job, build a routine, and regain my confidence. Each goal was accompanied by smaller, actionable steps. As I looked at the board, I felt a spark ignite within me. This wasn't just a list of dreams. It was a blueprint for my future. And for the first time in years,